What's up, everybody? Well, I got another Alienware m18 with a 7900M gameplay video for you guys today. Well, not gameplay video. There'll be some gameplay, but we're gonna do like a little review because I realized I haven't done any review on this. Now, when I unboxed the first one, you know, it was all messed up, so I already did stuff like speaker test and mic test and all that stuff on that video, but we'll still do it again real quick for you guys on here, and we'll take a quick look around the thing, do a little gameplay tests, talk about all the issues it's had since I had it, solutions for said issues, if there are any, and we'll also, like I said, get a little gameplay of some Cyberpunk, and we'll also get a little Baldurs Gate 3 in the most CPU intensive part I know of in town. Since all the NPCs can do their own individual little tasks, it's quite CPU intensive. So I want to see if it's, you know, stuttery like crazy, smooth as butter, or somewhere in between. So we'll do all that and more. So why don't we go ahead and get started and take a quick look around the thing. Now I'm probably just going to leave it on the cooling pad, shut it off, and, you know, just leave it on the cooling pad and take the camera off the freaking thing and show you guys around, because that thing was a bitch to get perfectly on there. I mean, that's kind of my own fault. It's the absolute biggest laptop that thing can have, so of course when you get to the limit, it's not the easiest to place it on there like the Asus G15 Advantage was. And even that, someone had to say, hey dude, you're a little off. If you move it over here, you'll get even better temps. And they were right. Anyway, let's go get started by having a quick look around the thing. All right, so first we'll have a quick look here. We got the keyboard, and it's pretty nice. It's tactical, like mechanical, so it feels really nice. And it is such a big laptop that it does come with a numpad. Some people like that, some people don't care about it. I'm in the middle. I like it for some game. And then you've got your glass trackpad, and it's got gestures so you can like pinch to zoom and 2-finger scroll and whatnot. Feels nice, and it's a little bit bigger than the Asus G15 Advantage. I mean, it's an 18-inch laptop. Of course, it's gonna have a little bit bigger, well, not of course, but it should have a little bit bigger trackpad. But works really nice. Feels pretty much just on par with the Asus G15 Advantage. They both feel great. It's not like a jab at this. The only ones I've ever felt that are like better than this are on like Macs. And then besides that, the only other thing you really have up here is your power button, which glows, and then you've got your ventilation here. Some people think this is a speaker, but no, this is just ventilation. And it also has even a little bit more up towards the top there too. So then, if we come forwards here, there's really not a whole lot going on here. It's just a completely flat thing, not even speakers. The speakers are actually on the side of this thing. So let me just, I'm trying not to shake the camera too bad, but on this side, you got your little speaker vent right there. You've got a USB-C port right there. You've got a huge ventilation. I believe this is for the CPU portion right here. I could be wrong. Maybe they're both the same size, but pretty big. Now, let's go have a look at the other side. All right, no, they're both about the same size, so I don't know which is which, but you've got your CPU and GPU on one side, and they're all connected in with the pipes and stuff. But you've got yourself a Ethernet port right there. It's gigabyte or gigabit. You've got a USB 3.2 port right there, and then another 3.2 right there. So you got two. Then you've got your headphone jack. Now, a lot of people get mad when they put them on this side, because a lot of people have their laptop off to the side and then it gets in the way of their mouse, but some people just put it on the other side. It shouldn't be the biggest deal in the world. And then, before we get done with the front, you got your microphones, and you got your little webcam. I believe it's a 1080p webcam. I'd have to look at the specs, but we'll test that out too. But all right, I think we're pretty much ready to go ahead and just see. Well, no, we're not done yet. I don't think we really had a look at the back, so let me turn it around for you guys. I don't want to try to do that one-handed and drop my expensive ass camera. Now for the back, you've got two USB-Cs. I believe these also go out to monitors and stuff. You got another 3.2 USB port right there. You got an HDMI 2.1 out. You've got a mini display port. You got an SD card reader, which is becoming pretty rare on laptops nowadays. Then you got your big old power port. And then you got huge vents. And you can even see if I get in there and focus, you can even see the freaking vents of the freaking heatsink in there. Pretty crazy. And then besides that, you've got your little glowing Alienware logo. That's about all the RGB you really get. Well, no, there's a little thing going around here too, but all of it's in the back where you can't really see it. I think that's just for showing off if you go to like a LAN party or internet cafe or something. And then funny enough, it looks like they tried to copy the look of it for the cooling pad, which I always thought was pretty funny. All right, now I think we've done a complete, you know, exploratory of the outside of this thing. So why don't we go ahead and go turn it on and have a look at like the speakers and the mic and the webcam and all of that good stuff. Well, all right, I figured while it's off, why don't we do a quick boot test too, just to see how long it takes to get this thing into Windows. So just hit the power button. Mine actually just turns on when you open the camshell. I think you can change that in the options too. yeah, pretty quick. Not quite as fast as the Asus G15 Advantage. Can it see me from back here? Yep. All right, so yeah, it does not take very long. And look, we already have like the animated wallpaper pretty much already ready to go. You could start already just surfing the web or whatever you want to do. It's ready. So I don't know. I should have had like a timer so I could tell you the exact time. It did not take long. Probably like 7-8 seconds, something like that. So now that we got that out of the way, let's go and do a quick speaker and mic test and webcam and all that kind of stuff. Then I'll talk about some of the problems that have, I've come across while owning it. And then we'll get a little gameplay into at the end because everybody wants to see this thing play games. At least most people that watch a review want to see how it can handle some games. So we'll do that too. So let's get started. Now let's go get ourselves a quick speaker test here. I'm just going to use the Crab Rave, which seems to be pretty popular for speaker tests. So I'm just going to shut up and let's see what it can do. It's at 100%. I don't usually like doing that with speakers, but it is what it is. Hopefully they don't blow up. They shouldn't. I'm gonna put that back down to its regular 74 that I used to overdo the freaking crazy ass fan underneath it. But I didn't hear any distortion or anything like that. Obviously it's not the best speakers in the world, but sound comes out of it. It sounds alright for highs and whatnot, but it does sound a little tingy. I'm not like an audiophile or anything. And there's pretty much zero bass, but most laptops have no bass. There's obviously some exceptions to the rule, but this one is definitely bass free. That is exactly why I got these little THX Pro speakers to hook up to it with the external monitor. So now it's time to go move on and do a quick mic test, I think. Well, alright, here's a quick test of the microphones on this thing. I'm basically just sitting, standing about where you would sit away from it if you were going to use it for such a thing. It doesn't seem to like max out or anything like that, so that's good. Although it's not like I'm shouting at it or anything. Like I would be if maybe I was one of those guys who got really mad at their video games. As a kid I used to do that, but not anymore. But at least from looking at the bars, it doesn't seem to be horrible, but that doesn't technically mean shit. We have to actually listen to the recording and see what it sounds like. I think that's probably more than good enough. So now let's go move on to a little webcam. Alright, now let's test out this webcam. I'm actually kind of impressed. It doesn't look like complete garbage. I think it is 1080p. And if it's 720p, it's one of the best looking 720p screens I've seen. Now, I'm not that used to being on camera here, but I don't really care that much. But yeah, looks pretty good. Now, maybe that's just because I have two giant studio lights sitting here. Not giant, but they're still giving us a lot more light than a lot of people would have just at their house. But still, I think it would be more than acceptable for a quick conference call, or if you want to do some, gameplay footage and you wanted to put yourself down in the corner or what have you. Now, I would probably get better mics. These mics aren't the worst thing I've ever heard, but they're definitely not gonna, be great for if you want to do YouTube videos or Twitch or anything like that. I mean, it'll get you by, don't get me wrong, but people are probably going to say, hey man, you should probably upgrade your mic. So, again, more than good, adequate for like a quick conference call or just having fun with your friends talking or whatnot. It'd probably pick up on a bunch of noise though if you were playing a game with it, so I probably wouldn't recommend using the mics for anything like that, but they're there if you absolutely need them. But I think that's probably more than enough for camera recorded footage, so why don't we go ahead and move on to talking about all the pros and cons and all the lame things it's done and solutions. So let's go move on. Well, alright guys, let's go ahead and talk about some of the pros and the cons and some of the lame stuff I had to deal with this thing. First, let's start off with the good, like the pros and whatnot. So pro number one, obviously, it's got great build quality. It's made out of metal. So I don't know, I just like metal. Feels nice to the touch, but it also has like some rubberized coating on it, but it still feels like it's metal under here. Now, I could be wrong and this could just be plastic and they could just be pulling a fast one over on me, but they say it's all metal, but the camshell definitely feels like aluminum and that's nice. So at least feels like high quality. There's not like a bunch of flex. I mean, if you really, it looks like it's going down, but that's because it's on a cushion. And then, I mean, if you really push, you can get some flex in the keyboard, but you really gotta push to get any. And most people are probably not gonna be pushing that hard. So that's nice, I like that. Pro number 2 is a more technical thing. I like the CPU in it. It's a 16 core 32 thread CPU. I believe it's the 7545HX. I could get that wrong. It's AMD and all the different processors are so confusing when it comes to their naming schemes anymore. There's so many damn numbers to remember, especially when you have as many systems as I do. But that thing just chews through games and whatnot. Sometimes a little too much, which we'll get into one of the negatives, but we'll leave that for later. But CPU is great for doing work and whatnot, and for also games that you can do best of both worlds. It's great. Now, this is also pro number 3, GPU. It's a great GPU. You get 16 gigs of VRAM, should be plenty. The GPU itself will run out of steam way before you run out of VRAM in games. So that's pretty awesome. Now, of course, you know, it's not gonna be the best at ray tracing, and FSR right now is not the best, but pure rasterization, this thing is awesome. It should sit right between a 4080 and a 4090. Now, of course, there's gonna be some games where the 4080 still, you know, kicks this thing's butt, but then there'll be other games where this thing pulls ahead. That's just the way it is with computers. It's very, very, very rare that you get a system, unless you get like the best of the best, like a 4090, where you're just gonna always be king of the mountain and always get the best performance no matter what. At least that's what I've seen in the laptop scheme. Obviously, it gets a little different when you get to the desktops and whatnot, because, you know, even a 4080 Super is faster than anything AMD's got most of the time. Now, used to be 4080s traded blows with the 7900 XTX, except for DLSS and ray tracing and all that. NVIDIA's always had the edge for that. But this is basically a laptop for people who just want pure rasterization. Now, sometimes you do have to deal with FSR, and FSR does kind of suck dookie as far as I'm concerned. I'm glad it works on everything, that's cool, and I'm glad it's available. It's better than nothing. But even Intel's first try, you know, beats it. I mean, PlayStation's first try beats it, and DLSS is just, you know, king of the mountain as far as upscaling technology goes. That's just the way it is. So if you care about ray tracing and upscaling and all that stuff, this probably is not the best thing to go with. Now, pro number 3, I love, or no, this is number 5 now, excuse me. Don't want to mess up here. Number 5, I like this keyboard. It's a mechanical keyboard, and it just is awesome. I'm gonna take my mic off so you guys can hear it. See, it's clicky. It's clicky and it's pretty cool, at least in my opinion. Let me get this mic back on. Sorry if it makes any weird noises. There we go. And yeah, and now, pro 6, and this is probably the last pro I can think of, unless I think of another one, is I actually like the screen. Now, the con is, you know, you can't use it at full speed, but we'll get into more of that later. But still, it's a very nice screen. It's not the brightest screen, but even in these studio lights, it's more than adequate to me. If somebody came and told me that's an 800 nit screen, I'd probably believe them. But it's only like 400 and something, and I think it peaks at like 480 or something like that. I think it's supposed to be 500 or something like that, or 350. It's hard to remember the specs of all my stuff, but I'll try to remember to leave it in the specs in the video and whatnot, because all my gameplay videos have the specs of this thing, so I can just take that, plop it at the bottom of this, and then you guys will know all the specs. And then if I got the processor wrong and whatnot, it's whatever. Yeah, that's pretty much that. Now, I think it's about time for us to talk about some of the cons. All right, now for some of the cons. Now, con number 1, that was pretty much the biggest issue most people were facing, is it would black screen if you used anything other than the Dell drivers, which we all know the freaking manufacturers very rarely give you the most up-to-date drivers. It usually takes them 2-3 months to freaking update the drivers. And then eventually, we all know what will happen. The laptops will get old, they will stop supporting them, and then what are you supposed to do? So I'm still hopeful that one day before they stop supporting it, they will just give the reins to AMD and be like, AMD, please make this work. But I doubt it, seeing as though this is the only system to this day I think it still has this GPU, which is a shame. I wished it was in more things. It's a great GPU. It was just held back by Dell, pretty much. So pretty much the only solution for that is to limit it to 240 from the 480. Now, I don't think this is even an issue on the 1600p version of this screen, but on this version, yeah, if you try to do 480, it would be fine sometimes, and then you try to play a game or just be on the desktop and your screen would just go black. You'd hear your audio or hear whatever you were doing in the background, and no screen. You'd have to restart the thing. And then for me, sometimes it would even do that on startup. You know, it would see my face, I'd see Windows for like a second or two, and then black screen, and I was like, oh, well, that's real cool. Now, luckily, a few people were really nice and told me, hey, if you limit the thing to 240 hertz, it fixes it. And I've been using that for about probably 3 or 4 months now, and I haven't had a single black screen with it like that. Again, sucks you have to do that, but it is what it is. So that's big con number 1. You shouldn't have to do that, but at least there's a solution to it. Now, con number 2, which is another thing that a lot of people were kind of mad at, if the CPU gets too hot, if it gets too much over 100C, which a lot of people think is a lot already, but apparently that's totally within spec, so it is what it is. But games will start stuttering, which kind of makes anything anything higher than performance, and even performance mode sometimes can stutter if you don't have a cooling pad like this under it. And I think it's because of a bad paste job, because this thing has a beefy ass cooling system. I think they just did shitty on the paste. The GPU is great. The GPU like never even really gets above 70, even without the cooling pad. With the cooling pad, it's in like the low 60s to mid 60s. I don't think it even hits 70 with this pad on. But the CPU, it can be anywhere from mid 80s all the way up to 101, depending on how hard it's being hit during the game. Doing any video editing, always at 101, all the time, nonstop. So it never restarted or did anything goofy for that. Well, I did any video editing. Well, I could, and we're gonna get into that next con here. There's a reason why I don't do any editing on it, other than the fact that I have better things for it. But I used to just do stuff on it to make it so I could do stuff on my other computers, you know? But anyway, so that's another con there, having a lot of stutter or whatnot if the CPU overheats. Luckily, if you're on 1440p like me, you don't really have that as much because it works the GPU a lot harder. But when you're at 1200p, trying to get lots of refresh rate, it works that thing hard. And that's where I end up getting most of my stutters in game. So the solution to the black screen and all that is to just run an external monitor. Use it as a desktop replacement. That's what gets rid of like 90% of the issues it has. But there's still some games and video editing and whatnot that will still push it up to 100 and you'll still get that stutter. So the only way to get around that is to run it unbalanced, which leaves a lot of performance on the GPU on the table, honestly. It's kind of lame. I wish you could just go into the thing and set a custom thing like, hey, don't go over like 50 watts or something on the CPU, and then just let the rest of the watts go to the GPU, and then I think it'd be fine. So that's another issue. Not the end of the world, but another issue I ran into. So another big issue is, like I said, drivers not only made the black screen happen, but they also made it so things like DaVinci don't work. I can't do any video editing. And it's not just this laptop though. That's kind of an AMD thing. So I'm just saying sometimes AMD drivers can be a little wonky. Now, besides this Alienware, I haven't really had too many issues with any other AMD systems as far as drivers go. Every once in a blue moon, you'd get a game that crashes or, you know, is not running great. And it usually tells you right in the, you know, driver, hey, this is good, known issues right here. And then once I had the ability to record videos taken away, like Relive just stopped working. Like it tried to record for like a millisecond and it would just stop. But even Shadowplay has done that to me. So that's not really that big of a deal. And then next driver update, it was fixed. And I haven't had a problem with it since. I'm more irked about the video editing thing. It would have been nice to take this on the road if you wanted to and do video work on it. And if you can't do that with DaVinci, that's kind of lame. Not everybody uses DaVinci, but if it does that, who knows? It might do it on other things. So that's not very cool. And so far hasn't been a solution to fix that. So now another big issue is obviously when it first came out was price. Now I think you can actually get these pretty cheap now. I've heard stories of people getting them for $1,000 to $1,200, and if you can get it for that, go for it. I would say it's worth the small amounts of issues you might have because it is an absolute beast when it actually works properly. And the best way to use it is, like I said, hook it up to an external monitor. And when we do the gameplay, we'll do it on both just to show you guys what it's like. I'll show you guys the screen, and then we'll also hop on over to the external screen. That way you can hear the speakers and all that stuff on the laptop and on the ones that are next to the screen. So the other thing is, I was gonna say fan noise was bad, but it's really just the cooling pad, and it's kind of necessary for the CPU, otherwise it gets way too hot. But that's because of problem number, I believe, what are we on, 5 now? Problem number 5 would be the CPU paste job, which I think is just really bad. They did a great job on the GPU, but the CPU gets really hot. I mean, unless it's just too powerful and it's gonna get hot no matter what. I mean, the AZG Advantage just is like that because, like Mini has said, the cooling solution just isn't there. It just can't keep up. If it had a little bit thicker heat pipes and, you know, a little bit thicker like chassis, it could get a little bit better temps, and it probably wouldn't sit at 96. It'd probably sit at like 90 or something like that then, which is still hot, don't get me wrong. But at least this thing, you know, has the cooling solution to back it up. You should see that thing. It's freaking huge. It's got like 4 or 5 fans or something like that. It's nuts. So there's no reason that CPU should be at 100 unless, like I said, it's just too beastly of a CPU for this system and they just overdid it. GPU, great. CPU, not so much. But that's pretty much that. I mean, I could say, it's kind of just nitpicking, so I would just say a bonus problem is, I would say the speakers on this thing aren't anything to really write home about. In fact, I would argue the Asus G15 Advantage's speakers even sound better than this thing. So obviously for like an almost $3,000 laptop, you'd expect the speakers to be pretty decent. Obviously, they're never going to compete with like, you know, nice desktop speakers. Even those little creative Pebble speakers that are like 20 bucks sound better than any laptop speakers I've ever heard and probably will ever hear. But that doesn't mean they should cheap out on them. But that's pretty much all I can really think of for cons. If I can think of any more, I'll mention them towards the end of the video. But other than that, I think it's pretty damn solid now. I pretty much worked out all the kinks and people figured out solutions for everything other than the CPU, other than doing a repaste job. And I'm not taking this thing out. It's an inverted motherboard. motherboard. I'm not taking it all the way apart to do that. No way. I'd sooner send it back to Alienware and make them do it. But then I'm scared I'm gonna get back and then it's gonna be even worse shape and I'm gonna go back to the GPU dying and nah, not worth it. I'd rather just deal with the occasional game stuttering a little bit since, you know, it's not my only system. So that's why I always warn people, if it's gonna be your only system, I don't know, you might wanna go for a different laptop. But if this is just gonna be like your laptop for travel and whatnot and you are okay with all the issues that I've mentioned and the pros outweigh the cons, then I'd say go for it. But anyway, why don't you say we go and hop into some games now and just see how it runs. Like I said, we'll do it 1200p on the screen here just so you can see it doesn't black screen anymore. And then we'll hop on over to 1440 so you can see, you know, the performance of that, as well as having good speakers and all that stuff. And if it can even handle gaming very well at 1440, which it pretty much can. So let's go get started. All right, so here's the settings I've decided to run just for fun. We're going to run FSR 3 on balanced, but the only reason we're doing that is because I also turned ray tracing on just for fun. Just not path traced. Here's the rest, 90% field of view. Oh, I don't want that on though. Or depth of field. Or motion blur. None of these are going to affect the FPS. I already ran a benchmark, but yeah, I just don't want that stuff on. Normally I wouldn't want that stuff on either, but we'll leave it on for just effects. Some people do like it. So, there's the graphics settings, and then for video, we're at 1200p, full screen, no VSync or anything maxing out the FPS or anything like that. So now, let's go see those benchmark results. So, here's what we got. Average of 72, a minimum of 63, and a max of 84. And obviously, if you just turned the ray tracing off, you could get a lot more FPS. But here's all the rest of the specifications: 7900M, 16 gigs of VRAM, the Radeon software. So yeah, 7945HX. I think I did say it right earlier. System memory, we got 65 gigs of just memory. Windows 11 Home, the OS version, which is not really Windows 10, that's Windows 11, but lots of things just see them as the same, because I think it's pretty much Windows 10 in the heart of things. It's just a little different. Then you got 1200p full screen, no VSync or any of that, no frame gen helping out, just FSR 3. And we got all the ray tracing on besides path tracing. So I think it did a pretty damn good job, but let's go hop into the actual game and make sure it's not like stuttery garbage. Well, here we go. We're in Cyberpunk. So let's just run around and see how it runs. Is it going to be like really, really stuttery? Is it going to be pretty smooth? Let's find out. Now, a lot of the times I'd get screen recorded gameplay, but I didn't want OBS getting us worse FPS than we're supposed to or anything. Plus, a lot of people in a review about the laptop want to see how the laptop performs from the outside. So, we'll just do it like this. Let's try to get to a little bit more well-lit area. Alright, I'm not going to get run over by the car? Okay. Oh, shit. Seems like they're having some fun. Oh, damn. Let's go over here, I guess. So far, we're getting pretty damn smooth frame times and all that stuff. A little tiny itty-bitty stutter there. Probably wouldn't have noticed it without a frame graph up there.
Sure got that ear to the ground.
Siempre. Anyway, you'll need something. You know where to find me.
Oh no. Well, it wouldn't be a video of Cyberpunk without me getting run over.
Hey, Judy, what's up?
Hey, can you come over, Stat?
Something happened?
Yeah. Just come.
But alright, why don't we move on to the next game I've chose. So, here's the settings we're going to run. For Baldur's Gate 3, we're going to do 1080 or 1200p. I disabled VSync and what do they call it? Triple buffering stuff. We're not using FSR. And we got the thing basically maxed out. I just turned depth of field off so it says custom. And obviously we're not using slow hard drive mode. So this one, to my knowledge, does not have any benchmarks or anything I can run. So let's just go hop on to the hardest place I've seen to run in the game, the city. Alright, we're in the game now. I haven't even moved yet. Actually, it's easier to move when I'm on camera with this. I wonder if it'll let me... Yep. It's kind of cool how it does it on the fly. It sucks that it stutters a second, but it's cool how you can go between keyboard and mouse. It's just easier to walk around and show you guys stuff like this. Keyboard and mouse is what I use to actually play the game, but it's just a little easier for exploratory kind of things. Still does have some stutters, and like I said, see, this is what I want to test. You get over 100C and you get a stutter. This is one of the games that definitely runs a little bit better at 1440 because I think it makes it a little bit more GPU bound, but no matter what, it's CPU intensive in this city. So I figured that was going to make that CPU work. Now, it doesn't turn every game into stuttering garbage, but it does have a, you know, a stutter here and there when that happens. At least that's what it appears to be. See? Yep, there's 101, and we had a little stutter in the frame times. Again, not one that really matters, but...
Oh, Wave Mother, Queen of the Depths, hear me. Please carry Holly to her final rest in the deep wilds. Please. Sorry, are you here for Wave Servant Holly's funeral? Oh, it's already started. They're just inside.
Alright, instead of going and doing any more cutscene stuff, let's go into the harder parts to run in the city. Oh, I'm already down to 2 bars. I gotta watch this battery like a hawk. This particular battery doesn't seem to last very long once it gets under 3. Like probably within 2 minutes if we... I don't even need 2 more minutes. I only need like a minute and some change, but for all I know, it can get down to 1 bar in that small amount of time. But yeah, this is still completely playable.
Blushing.
Alright, why don't we go ahead and now bump it up to 1440p in the external monitor and all that good stuff. So here's the settings we're going to run for 1440p. Couldn't get a constant 60 everywhere, but still. we're just kind of pushing it to the limits here anyway. But we got HDR on and all that good stuff. Now I did have to drop it down to performance. FSR 3. Didn't use frame gen though. But we do have all this on. Obviously if you just turned ray tracing off, you could get absolutely no problem decent performance, but I just wanted to push it a little bit for this video. So now, let's go have a look at those benchmark results. So here's the benchmark results. We averaged 66, we did drop down to 58, and we maxed out at 78. And then here's all the other info. And it wasn't path trace ray tracing. So, now let's get into the game and see what it's actually like to play. Alright, let's get a little gameplay here.
¡Ven aquí, carajo! ¡Ready! ¡A huevo! Give you to Santa Muerte. Oh. She got hit! Me voy a sacar las pinches tripas.
Alright, sorry about that. Battery died on me.
¿Tienes una puta idea de con quién te estás metiendo?
Alright.
¡No de los pinches cabrones, man!
Here we go. Not very good with a controller, but we still got the job done.
I'm hit! Ugh, Santa Muerte's chosen me! Me aseguraré de que ardas en el infierno. ¡Ay, carajo! ¿Por qué?
But there was one more back here. But alright. let's move on. So here's the settings we're gonna go with for 1440. We're basically just gonna leave it maxed out. And alright, since this game doesn't have any benchmarks, let's go hop right into the game. Well, here we are in the game. So let's go get ourselves a little gameplay here. It still does have a little stutter every once in a while. But CPU is not overheating now. At least not in this particular area.
Oh, Wave Mother, Queen of the Depths, hear me. Please carry Holly to her final rest in the deep wilds. Please. Sorry, are you here for Wave Servant Holly's funeral? Oh, it's already started. They're just inside. I don't fancy the look of those.
If Baldurs doesn't want to pay us fair, then we're well in our rights to look out for ourselves. We'll get to them soon enough. It's peaceful.
Alright though, I'd say that's probably good. So, why don't we go get to wrapping this video on up now? Well, alright guys, that is a wrap for this video, I think. And pretty much what I've come to the conclusion is, well, actually before I do that, I've noticed something. Sometimes when I get done playing games, that Alienware light, power button light will be flashing like that, like green. What is that supposed to mean? Is that trying to tell me it's like fans are going really crazy? Is something overheating? Is that just something it does? I can't really find any info about it. So I was wondering if anybody else who had one has figured that out or if that happens to them. But anyway, just to wrap this up real quick, I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, should I get this laptop? Well, if you just want something that's going to work flawlessly and never give you any issues whatsoever, well, I mean, almost no laptop's a good thing besides MacBooks for that, but those don't game so good. So if you're looking for something that can do it all, do video editing and whatnot, and still play games, I would honestly just get something with a 4090 or a 4080 and just be, you know, happier. You can easily use it just afterburner to overclock. You don't have to do anything crazy to overclock. I haven't even attempted to overclock this one because AMD is usually pretty locked down. They don't want you fucking with shit on their laptops. So I haven't undervolted or done anything. That's easier to do on the Intel CPUs and all that stuff. It's kind of lame. So if you're looking for just something that works and you don't ever want to have any issues, spend a little extra money and just get something, not even necessarily an Intel CPU, but just something that's got an NVIDIA GPU. It just has a little bit more stability and you get all those benefits from most applications liking NVIDIA GPUs better. So if you do want to do work, because heck, you can come do this GPU, or not this GPU, this CPU with like, you know, some kind of like 4080 or 4090, I think it'd be a great laptop. I'd be probably more expensive, but you get what you pay for. Now, if you find this on sale or something for like 1200, 1000, something like that, I'd say go for it. If you're just know you're gonna have some little issues here and there. Sometimes things won't work quite so well, but hey, at least you saved a bunch of money. So that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm still pretty happy with it because I pretty much fixed all of the problems, except for the CPU getting too hot. I can't fix that myself. I mean, I could, but I don't trust myself after the Asus G15 fiasco. I'd rather just stick to building desktops. Laptops are way too finicky and delicate for my taste. But that is pretty much that. If you guys have any questions, obviously just let me know. I'll answer any questions I can answer, and I'll test any games that I have that you guys want to know how they run on this thing, plus a bunch of other systems too. It's not just. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, because I sure as hell enjoyed making it for you guys. And until the next video, peace out, guys.